And before we get started with the progressions of the flat serve, we have to talk about some of the key components of the flat serve, some fundamental elements that you can't live without. First of all, you have to toss the ball the correct way. So on the flat serve, you want your toss to be between 12 and 1 o'clock. You don't want your toss to be at 2 o'clock because that often turns into an accidental slice, and also you don't want your toss to be at 11 o'clock because while you can manage to hit a flat serve from 11 o'clock, you will have to bend your body in a very uncomfortable way and you're going to have a hard time generating power. You also want to make sure the toss goes inside the baseline because the contact of the flat serve should be established slightly in front of your head. Of course, you want to hit all your serves with a continental grip. Now, most importantly, as you toss the ball in the correct location, you want to utilize torso rotation, which means that if you happen to be right-handed, you're going to bring your right shoulder forward. So what should take place on a flat serve is a position of the shoulders that's parallel to each other if you're looking at the serve from the side. So yes, the dominant shoulder will be way above the non-dominant shoulder because of the cartwheel that's in effect, but the dominant shoulder should be in line with the non-dominant shoulder when we're talking about the flat serve. If you get into a situation where your dominant shoulder is behind, you're going to have a hard time generating power because you're not going to be accommodating the swing path that I'm going to talk about shortly. Your body is going to be fighting your arm, in other words. So now that we have some of the fundamentals out of the way, let's get into the progressions. And what I want you to compare the flat serve to is an overhead, because the overhead is mostly struck flat. Yes, it can be struck with a slice at times, but it's too risky. You rarely see this from high-level players. Generally, an overhead is struck very flat. You will never ever see an overhead that's hit with topspin. So what I want you to do as your first progression, I want you to start in your trophy phase or trophy position, just like you would on an overhead. I want you to toss the ball to yourself at 1 o'clock, and I want you to just hit an overhead. Now you're gonna aim this overhead inside the service box. And once you start getting comfortable with the proper trajectory, you're going to get a little bit more confidence. You can start taking a bigger cut at your serve overhead. Now the reason why I don't want you to toss the ball at 12 o'clock is because we're not going to be bending our body at all. That's why on this particular progression we need the toss to be exactly at 1 o'clock. And while you're doing this overhead serve exercise, you are building the fundamentals of the flat serve swing path. And if you're familiar with the intuitive tennis methodology, you know that I don't want you to be concerned with what happens shortly prior to the contact, at contact, and shortly thereafter, because that moment in time is over in milliseconds and you can't even be conscious of that if you wanted to. So what actually happens in reality on a flat serve is that the racket goes forward for a short little while before it basically runs out of space and starts going down. So in the second progression, what you're going to start doing is building a little bit more of that forward segment of your flat serve. So you're going to slide back halfway between the service line and the baseline, and of course you're going to have to hit your serve overhead a different way because you're going to attempt to get it inside the service line. So if I hit it the same way, I'm going to hit the ball into the net. So I'm going to have to lengthen my serve overhead a little bit in order to get it into the box. You're going to repeat each progression 50 to 100 times, or you might even need more reps if you are unable to get the ball into the box. So in the second progression, you are already changing your flat serve swing path without being conscious of it. All you're worried about is getting the ball into the box. Now the next progression is going to be stepping all the way back to the baseline, and we're still going to hit that serve overhead where we start in the trophy phase. Now, if you hit your serve overhead the same way you hit it from the previous progression where you were closer up, you're not going to get the ball over the net. You will have to change the trajectory of the ball. And how you're going to do that? Naturally, you need to lengthen that area where the racket goes forward a little bit more. And you're just going to go by feel. You start in the trophy phase, toss the ball at 1 o'clock, and you're going to try to get the ball into the box. Here, there's going to be more mistakes because the degree of difficulty on a flat serve that's struck very hard is high. So you can expect to make some mistakes. Think about it this way. You're hitting the ball very fast into a small box, and it's going to be normal that there is going to be some mistakes here and there. Even the greatest servers in the history of tennis, on their first serves, when they strike it very hard and very flat, at their best, they only get between 60 and 70% of their first serves in. So when you're serving hard, when you're serving flat, you can expect mistakes, and you shouldn't try to achieve perfection. So after 50 reps of the third progression, once you feel comfortable with this one, you can transition into a regular serve. And what you have done now in an intuitive fashion is build the fundamentals of the flat serve swing path. Because what happens on a kick serve and a slice serve is that there's a lateral element to the swing path. So on both the kick and the slice, the racket goes to the side. That is not the case on a flat serve. At the moment of contact, the racket goes forward. Now the racket can actually go to the side later on in the finish part of the serve. But what's important on a flat serve is that the racket initially at the moment of contact goes forward before starting to come down. And if you've done enough of the first 3 progressions, when you step up to that line and attempt to hit a hard flat serve, you will have the correct swing path. See, what happens with a lot of players is that when they attempt to hit a flat serve, they get an accidental slice on their serve often, and that is possibly due to the wrong muscle memory. So if you do these progressions often enough, you can break that muscle memory, because fact is, out of all the serves, the flat serve is going to be the one where you can reach your maximum speed. And this does not mean that the other serves are not important. They're equally as important as a flat serve. You need to have a kick serve as your second serve. That's the optimal way to strike a second serve, but it's also important that you can deliver the fastest serve possible when you need to and when you want to at will, and that you stop getting accidental slices when you're trying to go hard and flat. So now that I've done these progressions, I'm going to hit my normal flat serve. I'm going to tell you whether it feels better or not. Okay, that one I didn't hit quite clean, hit a little bit towards the top of the string bed. Probably had to do with my rhythm a little bit. Okay, that one felt a little bit better, but I missed it long. Let me try it again. Okay, I adjusted the toss a little bit there, threw it slightly more to the right. And here, last one, I'm going to serve flat and hard out wide. Now, when you practice your flat serve and when you're going through these progressions, make sure that you're alternating sides and that you alternating locations. You can hit a flat serve anywhere. So it doesn't mean that you cannot hit a flat serve when you're serving deuce as a right-hander out wide. Of course, there it's going to be useful to hit a slice, but you can also hit it flat. I have a beautiful video of Yannick Sinner hitting a flat serve out wide. If you pay close attention to the swing path, you can tell that it's a flat serve. Why? Because he's going forward initially at the ball. If he was hitting a slicer, you would see more of a lateral movement of the racket. So even though he's going out wide, some people might mistake this as a slice. You will see that the ball is not curving much. It is going straight through the court. Yes, of course, it has a leftward trajectory because he's standing on the right side of the court serving left, but he's indeed hitting a flat serve out wide. So when you're practicing your flat serve, you should alternate sides and alternate locations.